Hey guys, how you going? So today on BK Sport, we are going to be talking about International Rugby 7's. Not really too sure how this video is going to go. I've been getting a lot of people asking me on my rugby streams lately what I think about the 7's, whether I think it's going to come back, when I think it's going to come back, and just the basic logistics of the situation. So I thought I may as well put out a video here discussing kind of my thoughts surrounding the situation and surrounding International Rugby 7's. The problem with this game is that it is solely internationally based. You know, you're not just in one place all the time, you're in multiple places. You go from Cape Town, Dubai, you go to Las Vegas, Vancouver, you go Sydney in New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, London, France, like Paris, we're all over the place, So it's very difficult to think about this competition right now and actually coming back because we all know about the travel restrictions. We definitely know about that Northern American area, which is going to be quite difficult to even contemplate in the near future, like within the next couple of years. And I do think that it deserves to be discussed because 7's is an absolutely phenomenal sport. I know it's not exactly one of the biggest sports in Australia or even in Europe or even in America, massive in the Pacific Islands, but look, it is a very underrated sport that deserves recognition, and unfortunately it's kind of been swept under the carpet here because it really isn't exactly a priority in comparison to a lot of other concepts, formats and factors. So let's talk about when, if, Rugby 7's will return. Like I was saying, guys, this sport is solely international. So, you might get some rando domestic competitions here and there, but obviously the main sport for this, the main format for this is the International 7's, where you start off in Dubai, you go to Cape Town, then you go to Hamilton, Sydney, up to America, then over to Asia, up to Europe. That's how this tournament is set up. If you're not too aware of how it's actually done, we have two separate days on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, of just full-on 7's action all day, basically all night, and it's just an absolute 7's rugby frenzy. It's crazy, it's awesome, great fun, and if it does come back, when it comes back, definitely get out to one because it is an amazing day, amazing couple of days at the rugby. Starts off in Dubai, so you go to Dubai for that first week, and then the weekend after, you're in Cape Town. Now, the logistics on this situation right now is that that's not going to be viable. Not only do you have quarantine for 2 weeks, but that's not just one team. That's all the teams. That's literally every single damn well team that is going to the competition. So basically you have to get everyone to Dubai 2 weeks beforehand for their quarantine, then they do the competition, they do the tournament, and then they go to Cape Town and they do another 2 weeks. So you can't do the week to week anymore because that's just impossible unless they were able to get some kind of bubble, but I'm not too sure traveling wise whether it would be legal and actual restrictions wise if that's actually even acceptable. So I don't think the week to week format is possible anymore, and definitely not in the near future anyway. I know that there is discussions about potentially 2022 travel restrictions being lifted to an extent, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get a large scale pass basically for the 7's to continue the way it did. So that cuts out that format. I'm not too sure how it goes forward there because then we utilize 4 weeks there for just 2 tournaments. You nearly have to just kind of play the whole series out straight, as in like 2 weeks in Dubai and then 2 weeks in Cape Town, and then you come down to Hamilton, you do 2 weeks there, Australia, 2 weeks there. That's how you're gonna have to do it because it's just like straight. There's no break. There's no potential for a break because you're not going to be able to come back to Australia because you'll have to quarantine for 2 weeks if you're the Australian 7's team and then go back. So you just have to do the tournament straight. But it wouldn't really make too much sense. The whole point of going to all these different stadiums is you're getting the home ground advantage. We're mixing it up all around the world. Well, what's the point when there's no crowds? We're definitely not going to get a crowd in Las Vegas. We'll probably get a crowd in Sydney. You'll probably get a crowd in New Zealand. I don't know about Europe. I don't know about Asia. Probably damn well not Asia. So there's not really much point traveling all around the world. So if they wanted to bring back this tournament, you'd assume it'd just be in one place. But then that wouldn't make sense to do just multiple tournaments, like, 10 tournaments week after week after week after week. That would be somewhat bland because that loses the hype, that loses the nature that 7's is built on. 7's is built on a fast growing, underrated game that is played in different places each week to mix up the feeling, to mix up the emotions, and to mix up the actual gameplay itself. So if you're playing in the same place week after week after week, and say you're playing in Sydney, it's just going to be way too advantageous to one specific team. But the problems that also arise with that is that you would have to keep all these teams in their own bubble for the full duration of the tournament. This is a wide-scale event. This is a very wide-scale tournament with a lot of people involved. We've already seen over there with the Autumn Nations Cup in Europe right now that Fiji probably are going to have their tournament cancelled because their players have come down with the virus. Now, that's obviously a huge problem. That's a lot easier to contain with just the one team. But can you imagine if this happened at a 7's tournament where there is, 15 buddy teams playing? There's 100 more teams playing? Like, it's just out of control. So I'm not too sure the logistics of that situation on bringing it back. Now, to actually answer the question of whether Rugby 7's will come back, I think it definitely needs to. I think ever is a very long time, so I'm never going to say never or ever, but I don't see it happening in the very near future, at least on a level that people are going to give a shit about, because it's just, the fun of it comes from the fans. Literally, the fun of 7's comes from the fans and the atmosphere of the stadium. Your rugby league, your AFL, your NFL, your Premier League, people still watch it for the actual on-field performance. Now, they've got crucial fan bases that actually full-on support the actual gameplay of it. 7's is something that is somewhat of a BBL style. So BBL is the cricket 2020 version of a 5-dayer or a 1-dayer, and I would practically say that the 7's is that form but for Rugby 15s. So Rugby 15s does have that, support. Rugby 15s has their crucial fan base, but 7's doesn't really have a solid fan base of supporters. People are more so getting around the nation and the country of their own rather than the actual, sport itself. People like me, though, are different. Yes, I do specifically watch the game because I really enjoy the pace of it, the difference to 15s, and just the athleticism that is involved in such a short, condensed version, especially across the 2 days. So it's very exciting for me, and I love the sport itself, and I'm not necessarily all about the fans. The fans do make it, but I love watching the sport itself. But because it's a smaller, off-brand version of the big-time concept, it's going to be very difficult to translate those core supporters here into core supporters there. When those core supporters didn't necessarily already swap over in the first place, it's going to be an incredibly massive uphill battle for 7's to return when it's not really that big of a sport worldwide. Yes, it is in Fiji, yes, it is in the Pacific, but I don't really know too many other countries that really give too much. I guess South Africa, because they're obviously a massive rugby nation in general, but besides South Africa, and I don't even know if 7's is massive there, I know that their 15s is absolutely huge. I'm not too certain about 7's, but mainly it's a Pacific Island sport. So with Pacific Island being such a small minnow population, it's just not going to be on a priority level right now. Especially when you can see both hemispheres right now really focusing on whether it be domestic Rugby 15s or just international Rugby 15s. They want this Autumn Nations Cup to go well. We're seeing the Tri-Nations going well. We're going to speak a little bit later on. I'm going to bring out a video about the new Super Rugby format and the fact that I think South Africa are basically moving away from the Southern Hemisphere Rugby Championship, Super Rugby, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be an interesting video. But yeah, I just think that it's lacking in priority right now, and I don't think it's on the agenda for the near future because logistics wise it just doesn't make sense. How are they going to be able to do all this traveling? How are they going to be able to contain all these separate teams, and how are they going to be able to keep it a fair and well-rounded game overall? I'm not too sure about that. So to answer the overall question, like I said, yes, it will come back. No, I don't think near future. And if it does come back near future, it probably is going to be a very bland version, and considering it's a bland version, the only reason people watch this sport is because of the excitement factor, and that would really detract from what this sport represents. So for me, I don't think they should bring it back until they can 100% get it right and 100% know the product they're putting on is similar to what they were putting on beforehand. All we need to see is the excitement factor. That's the 7's, man. 7's is an exciting game. So look, I'm excited to see how it goes. I think Canada has said that they're going to allow the 7's to take place in Vancouver and wherever the women's tournament is. I think they've said that, could be wrong. I would assume Australia would say yes. I'd assume New Zealand would say yes, but in the same sense, these countries also do need to worry that if they are bringing these people in, yes, there are quarantine phases, but they are still bringing in the potential of growing the virus again in that said country and expanding the virus potential. So there's a lot of factors that go in here, and it really will come down to each government It's not down to rugby. It's not down to the rugby sevens. If it was up to the rugby sevens, they would probably try and get this sorted. But I think this is mainly going to come down to whether the governments of the respective countries are going to allow it. Can I see America doing it? Absolutely not. Canada apparently is saying yes. I'm not too sure how Canada's situation is right now. Like I said, New Zealand, Australia, probably okay. Not too certain about the old Singapore and Hong Kong. Definitely don't think Hong Kong. You know, who else do we have that we've got to think about? South Africa, they're not even coming to the Rugby Championship. Well, they're using that pandemic as an excuse, but like, they're not coming to the Rugby Championship, so I would assume they would say no. Dubai, maybe, not too sure. And Europe, I'm not too certain about that one. So really, I can only somewhat guarantee 3, and that's not even guaranteeing necessarily Australia. So yeah, man, all over the place. Maybe we might have to come to Fiji, huh? And then we have to come and have a tournament in Fiji. Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. But that is going to finish us off for today's video. So if you have enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button, smash that thumbs up button. That will do us for today. Appreciate you guys as always, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.